in German. Then had to practice, of course, in German environment, but still it shows the plasticity, possibility of these molecules. And since now we have objective data, not just in theory, but in technology, that shows that we are, in fact, in our core, hyperlocal everywhere and everywhen. The interaction by shamanic molecules with these internal states are very exciting. The further extensions is, can we amplify the hadronic unified force? Can we, like a hadronic reactor does, which takes sewage and turns it into magnet gas, turns it into pseudo-superconductor, can we access, by our mantras, by our sound amplification, now some shamans don't allow you to sing, but it's very important to sing one's own sound and bring one's own magical song out. If you've done that, and some of you will have done that, you will have felt this tremendous standing wave that emerges with this visionary language that's governed by your heartbeat as the rhythm keeper. This over-unity effect that amplifies all of your cells. Is there a possibility that the hadronic horizon can then engage the electron horizon, the quantum horizon, 10 to the minus 9, into hadronic configurations, collapsing the uncertainty principle of electron potentials into these isoelectrons, into the magnicolor form, and thus produce healing and produce metamorphosis. Well, there are different areas that we explored this. Already 6 years ago in the Soma Conspiracy, we put together a great deal of data that could give indicators of that. And some years before, in 1999, we completed our fractal cosmological book, highly speculative, but highly novel, The Unity Keys of Emmanuel, the interuniversal perspective for the unity of diversity, in which we also take models of the potential of 8 cycles in instilling a kind of superconducting configuration. Of course, this was pioneered by the so-called schizophrenic episode of Dr. Dennis McKenna before he was hanging naked on the church bell of the Colombian village, telling people to wake up, which was the beta carbylation theory of the superconducting intercalation of harmine into the DNA. There's a great deal of data that has emerged since that was not a schizophrenic vision at all. In his day, of course, body temperature superconductivity was a laughing stock. But then in 1988, emerged the nuclear deformed elements, which were of the exotic matter, were in Cooper pairing, arranging superconductors, but those were still metallic groups. With hadronic mechanics, however, practically since December 1998, any element has been turned into a superconductivity at super high temperatures, even well above body temperatures, and water appears to be the most easy. Just 36 volts in the hadronic plasma arc flow converts water into a pseudo superconductor. So we are brought into a completely new dimension of possibilities, and this becomes very exciting, especially now if we take the perspective of these extraterrestrial genes, these 223 genes, the ETI somagenesis, the alchemical enthusiasm, extraterrestrial botany for the ETI 223 gene, activating alchemy. The combination of mineral essence, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, or ORMA, with 108 unique shamanic plants given by the space gods, as said in the Rig Veda, appear to cohere as resonance units of carefully grafted jumping DNA retroviruses that spark the ETI message-laden DNA into activity. See, geneticist Paul Davis thinks that the extraterrestrial genes that are written in us, there's a message of ET in our genes from the Human Genome Project, needs specific retroviruses to activate them. But it is now apparent that plant molecules activate these as well, especially plant molecules that are related to our own pineal gland molecules in jumping DNA. And has already been shown by Dr. Keller in the research with near-death experiences and in mapping certified saints and their miracles, which have undergone rigorous research by the Vatican to certify them as saints. Which the miracles of Teresa Newman, who would not eat, who would lose a lot of blood in her stigmatism, but who would gain weight overnight by just taking a teaspoon of holy water, can only be explained by retrotransposons, by jumping genes that jump across the chromosomes, that can create cancer in 24 hours, but likewise create metamorphosis in the other direction. So harnessing man's ETI genes, extraterrestrial genetics, are as much part of life in general, and even more so, is a central part of what makes us human. There are also indicators that Kundalini may activate these genes, so you might have to be careful with your sexual energy. You might become green with enlightenment. The 223 genes have been isolated, man alone, certified bona fide extraterrestrial genes, empirically vouched for by even the most conservative academic rationalists. These 223 ETI genes makes man unique to the rest of the phylogenetic tree. Now something appears to be activating this message-laden ETI DNA, which we shall look at. First of all, in the ETI gene, let us look at the International Human Sequencing Consortium 2001 in Nature magazine of the human genome, which states basically that the ETI gene is the outcome of the Great Genome Project. The head-scratching discovery by the public consortium, as Science magazine termed it, came when the human genome was compared with the genomes of our predecessors, so-called by evolution theory or speculation, I must add. We should not take in anything as gospel truth, including what I say, certainly, but also evolution is theory. It's an interesting theory, but it's theory. It was found that the human genome contains 223 genes. Now this was from Celera Genomics, 2001, Science magazine, volume 291, issue 5507, February the 16th, 2001. It was found then that the human genome contains 223 genes not possessed by invertebrates. Contrary to what one might expect, these 223 genes could make an enormous difference. The reason is that this number is more than 2/3 of the number of the 300 genes that differentiate between humans and chimpanzees, so that these genes could be the main determinant of the dramatic difference between humans and chimpanzees in the standard genetics. Just remember the 11 genes that LSD was found to activate. These were of this specific group that made us different from humans. This is just beginning research. Imagine what is still to come then with some of the other molecules. I think very exciting things are going to be around the corner as we start to map agmatine, the ketamines, the DMTs, 5-methoxy-DMT, and I believe also the interrelation of several of these molecules at the same time, because we find in the darkroom experience it's not just DMT or 5-MeO DMT or pinoline. There is also this very clear ketamine dextromethorphan or N-methyl D-aspartate cyclohexanone effect that is present. There are very strong rumors from quite reliable sources already in the 70s that the Apollo astronauts were trained for 3 months on ketamine hydrochloride to get used to the experiences out in space. And there is more disturbing data coming forth that the regression therapies they were getting involved psychedelics as well. Most of the astronauts are unable to emotionally describe their experiences on the moon. which has certain implications. It seems that when we go into outer space, the higher